Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying time is here. That's right, we're talking about Slugs on Kill by Kill. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal, Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from some town I've never heard of, and I hope I never hear from again. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, and it is Animal Attacks April, and we are talking 1988 Slugs, in the hopes that a young high school student's untimely end is just the beginning of the jokes that we can make at their expense. And as always, there's only one person I trust, that if I start spurting blood into my cocktail, she'll still want to sign on the dotted line. The one, the only Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
I'm good. I don't even have a joke. I'm still boggling over the fact that this movie is made and released in 1988. Because it feels very 1981 to me.
It's true. I mean, there's not a lot of advancement in plot or filming technology going on here. I just think it's retro, even for the time it was made.
Yeah, I mean the hair. We're gonna go deep on the music choices in this.
Oh my god!
Because they were some capital C choices.
I mean, there is one refrain that I know they bought from the music library, the same one Amazon Women on the Moon uses. So,
and there's also a piece of music that was later used in the Kids in the Hall sketch.
I mean, the movie would only be improved if someone in the middle of it picked up a phone and said, "No, man, ain't no Thelma here." It's probably too loud. I probably blew out my microphone. But Gina, I don't want to alarm you. We are not alone. That's right. We have a special guest who is a returning champion to us here at Kill by Kill. The one, the only Megan Sunday. How are you doing today, Megan?
I am doing great. The salad is a little salty.
Well, you know, it was the anchovies I put in it.
Dang. I mean, it's not your fault. I know you worked really hard on it, but
I know. I have to say that Megan is probably my favorite returning guest because we only bring her up for these shittiest movies.
That she specifically says, if you are going to do this shitty movie, I have to be the one to talk about it.
Well, I did Pieces. I got to get the Juan Piquer Simone collection.
I mean, wow. I mean, if you had told me that the guy who made Pieces also made a killer slug movie, I might have expected something different, but in the end, no, it's a lot of what I expected.
A lot of gore,
yes.
And absolutely horrifically filmed sex scene.
Several. I mean, anytime anyone remotely gets horny, this film is just the worst. Look, your eyeballs start to bleed.
It's like anti-sexy.
And a cast that's half Americans who are acting and Spanish people who are dubbed.
But also acting. I mean, I would put acting with a question mark against almost everyone's name in this entire motion picture. It is not something you want to watch while eating. I'm going to put that right out there.
Oh yeah,
right
no.
No, I mean the special effects are very subpar, and yet it's also still very, very gross.
Yes. And the two sort of main characters, I know this happens because they have very common names, Mike and Kim. Yeah. The actors are also named Mike and Kim, but in this case, I think it's because they couldn't remember other names.
Yeah, not only is his name Mike, his name was Mike Brady.
Yeah. Yeah, I expected him to start making little architecture of his own house over and over again, or tell someone to stop playing ball in the house, or I don't know. Pick your Brady Bunch trope. None of it happens, and yet so much happens. My notes are all over the place. I wish I could recount what this movie is beat to beat, but this film ruined me.
I mean, honestly, the plot can be surmised as carnivorous for some reason that's never actually explained.
Well, toxic waste. It makes things carnivorous.
Oh, well, that's true. Yeah. It causes you to grow teeth.
Yeah.
Important to note that this book It's based on a book. It's based on the novel.
Yeah.
Yes, I have read the novel, which is somehow way grosser than the movie.
It's way grosser. It takes place in England because they all do. All these killer animal movies are English when they're in the books. It's by Sean Hudson, who in his foreword to the recent Kindle edition is basically like, yeah, I didn't want to write a book about killer slugs, but the rats made a lot of money. And my agent said, hey, could you write this with slugs? And I did it in 3 months. And I respect that.
Yeah, well, I guess it worked. I mean, did he also hit any killer crab books, or did he stop?
No,
at
those
rats
belonged. The slugs that crabs really belonged to Guy N. Smith, R.I.P.
Pour one out.
But there are 2 other sequels to Slugs, the novel. So Breeding Ground and something I don't recall.
Okay. My favorite, when you mentioned Slugs, the movie, because that's apparently its actual title.
Just so you're not confused.
Now, I really wish they'd gone one step further and called it Slugs with an exclamation point.
Yeah.
But in Spain, it's known as Slugs, Muerte Viscosa, which is basically the slimy death.
I mean...
there's a lot of slimy death. There's a lot of slimy everything in this motion picture.
Including the characters.
Yeah.
Let's get right into it. We start with just water bubbling, and a woman who takes off her pants to reveal perhaps the highest waisted panties we have seen in this podcast history. And that is saying something. You might as well put them over her shoulders as if she is a farmer. It's incredible how high they are.
And yet somehow not flattering.
No. I don't think they're flattering on anybody. I don't know what the point of these were.
And since she was clearly, no offense to the lovely actress, hired to just be in her panties in the scene, you'd think they would have found some that looked a little better, because that's sort of what she's there for.
Well, there's another scene later where a supposedly teenage girl, although she looks about 29, is all dressed up and dolled up in lingerie for her teenage boyfriend.
Yeah.
It's the teens love.
Who looks 35.
Oh, he's a predator.
And she's got these like 1940s style bloomers on. And
yes.
it's like, okay, who was your costume buyer for this movie? There's no way in hell I was a teenager in 1988. And they were not selling that kind of underwear to teenage girls.
No, it looks like she's wearing her grandmother's underwear.
She's wearing some like Tennessee Williams character shit.
Yeah, she's wearing like pantalettes and a bra with her blouse open over it, and
they're not matching. Also, she's
no,
wearing
it's
the
not a
tan
set
bra and whatever that is on bottom, splayed out on her grandfather's basement bar. Where loving happens. Oh God!
Well, because her boyfriend is very
go
old.
all the way there.
Oh,
we have to get past this boat kill.
Their jaws opening.
Where one of my favorite horror movie tropes, when someone disappears underneath the water, and someone says, "Hey, stop playing around."
Yeah.
I mean, because the one thing, blood fountain happens, the playing is over.
The one thing you really should do when someone disappears underwater is stand there and continuously call their name.
Yeah, don't look over the side.
Yeah, don't maybe stick your hand in the water, to see if they are actually in trouble. No, you chastise them for 45 seconds about how they shouldn't be playing jokes on you.
Yeah, well, I mean, he kind of has it coming, because Wayne, the only name that I picked up in the sequence, is a fish first, fuck second kind of guy. And come on, like, is he worth sticking your hand in slug infested waters for? I don't think so. He's full of Kool-Aid, we learn. Like, who cares?
I do appreciate that all the teenagers in this movie are actually kind of like, they have other priorities before they have sex, whereas all of the adults are just like, sex? Like, all right, hey, go us.
No, all these adults have got to have it 24/7. And the teenagers are kind of like, listen, I'm just not into you particularly. I
need a drink first.
Oh my God. At least there's like one kid sticking up for Pam later on. And he's like, where's Pam? He's like, I told her to hit the bricks. He's like, you're a fucking asshole. I'm like, this kid wins the movie.
Yeah, he's the only teenager that I do not want to see something horrible happened to. And I'm okay saying that because none of these actors are anywhere near actual teenagers.
No.
I'm not wishing to see children die.
Yeah, I wrote down based on a novel. Then
I think that's one of the things that Megan and I bonded over was that, you know, we found someone else who actually had read Slugs, the novel.
And it's something.
Oh yeah.
So after the very blue slug-filled opening credits, which I believe I estimated lasted 5.5 hours, it's a very languid pace.
Well, they're slugs.
They don't have anywhere to go. And more people in this movie fall into them than they attack. We open on a guy who's walking at night in his pajama bottoms, and I respect it. You know, in a pandemic world, this makes a lot of sense. 1988, it was a little odd.
Well, yes.
Well, it's a requirement in any animal attack movie and or novel that a drunk has to die.
Yeah.
So that everyone can just be like, well, you know, old Carl there, he liked to drink. Yes, but his face was eaten.
You know, because you know what happens. You get drunk, you pass out, a raccoon eats your eyeballs.
So I think that happens in Slither, which is about killer lizards, where a guy passes out on the banks of the Thames and he's drunk, and like lizards eat out his entire like chest cavity, and everyone's just like, well, this was a pickle for that old drunk.
People usually drink a lot of cheap alcohol and wake up a slime-filled skeleton.
Yeah, it just explodes.
You know, I mean, come on. We've all had our times where we drank some questionable alcohol and woke up and like our intestines were hanging out of our mouths. You know, I mean,
yeah. We went, woohoo.
This particular victim is named Ron Bell. We'll hear his name later on, but we never know who he is to begin with. Whenever he drinks, it's like my favorite thing in just any movie. When someone drinks hard alcohol and they make a scrunchy face, like, ow, that hurts my tum-tum.
Yeah, it's like, aren't you used to this by now?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, what is the pleasure of drinking this if every time you drink it, you're like...
Like, Ron, you're on to lighter fluid, man. Like...
He opens a pizza box and dislikes it so much that he throws it in his own basement. Like, that is
I thought there were slugs in the pizza. I thought that's why
we don't see what's inside the pizza, so we don't fucking know. He just looks at it and goes, "Oh, not for me," and throws it in the basement.
That's how you get killer slugs.
Yeah, it is how you get killer slugs.
It's because everybody in this town is a horrible slob, apparently.
Oh my God, yeah.
And this is when, after he decides to dispose of his pizza in his own basement, lays down on the couch and is killed by slug couch, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, nobody... Okay, Megan knows this. I am actually terrified of slugs.
Yes.
The reason why I was able to watch this movie is because, in close-up at least, the slugs look like little poo-poos. They're not very scary looking. And I know logically slugs don't do anything. They can't hurt you.
Right.
I got one on me once. I almost fainted. I had a minor meltdown over it. But I don't know how people cannot see these things.
They're huge.
Yeah. You've got the previously mentioned sex scene in which they are so involved in what they're doing, they are not aware that the entire room is filling with slugs. And I would imagine that you get enough slugs, they're going to make a noise.
Well, they do. They make that little like...
Yeah, they're going to make...
noise.
You're going to hear like a slithering noise or like, hey, there's something in here. Perhaps we should stop fucking for a minute and turn on a light and see what's going on. But no, nobody sees these things in salad. Nobody sees these things crawling around in their sinks. Like they're just completely they are absolutely oblivious to these like 6-inch long snot trails moving around their houses.
And the thing that this movie doesn't go all the way that it could, because I don't recall specifically from the book, but having read many, many books like this, I guarantee those slugs were going up his anus.
Well, how much money do you want to lay on this, Megan? I mean, let's make this interesting.
So I've read the novel The Nest, which is about killer cockroaches, and as well, and the aforementioned Slither. I think lizards are also doing this. These lizards get around. Squelch. I think the jellyfish just go into people's mouths, but also there's that. So he lays down on the couch and then starts yelling. And I mean, what else are they doing? They're not just goosing him.
They're not playing around. It's not a game of like tickle tag or something like that.
No,
they're definitely going up as hoo-ha.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm on the record.
This drives me crazy though, that nobody notices these things. Like, probably the peak gross out scene is when a slug melts a guy's face off, which I'm still not quite sure what happens to that man.
There's parasites inside the slug.
Oh, okay. They burrowed out of his face or something like that.
Yeah,
but
it's a slug explosion.
Now, are we to understand that he ate a slug?
Yes, it was in the salad.
In the salad that he must have confused with anchovies.
Well, she slices his wife, Maureen, who loves the booze.
She doesn't. The booze also loves her back. Megan.
But she wants to give up because she can't lose her very tired husband. He's so tired this whole movie.
Her rock bottom is him going, my tum-tum hurts. Like, that's when she's like, listen, I can't keep up my alcohol habit if it's going to mean that you're going to have like an IBS situation. Maybe I need to see somebody.
Or when they're at the bar earlier and she's like, no one wants to dance with me. I'm drunk.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, listen, we're just so everyone knows, we're talking about Maureen, a character who the kind of drunk she is because she puts Heineken in a champagne glass.
I just don't. I don't like. She cut the slug into pieces. But he still ate it. Yeah. Now I don't think that slugs and anchovies have the same texture. So what is he just chewing on this and be like, well, I guess that's some kind of new veggie.
I think he has an iron stomach up to this point.
And does he have an iron mouth?
He also was one of these aforementioned adults that comes home from work and has got to have it. So I mean, he was in like a post-coital salad-eating fog.
It's kind of an aphrodisiac for him. He just needs something a little slimy and a little salty, and that just revs his engine.
God. Why?
It's not me. I'm not that person. Slugs has done this to us, Gina.
You guys are lucky. I love you. I would never talk about this movie. I would never watch this movie for anybody else. I saw
this movie like 5 times.
I saw it years ago, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Slug melted the guy's face off.
Yeah. During this drinking meeting, we get to meet some big players here, including the aforementioned Mike and Kim Brady. Now, Mike, we learn he's not much of a dancer, and Kim is convinced that Mike sucks at dancing. So that's what they have in common. That's what brings them together as people.
She does not actually seem to like him very much.
I love the dialogue in this. It's just this is amazing. It's like, I'm not much of a dancer. You sure aren't.
Can confirm.
Yeah. Oh, I love a couple that passively aggressively digs at each other in front of their friends.
I mean, even later when they have sex, it's just sort of like, hey, get a load of this. All right.
She's also one who has like 3 layers.
She's got like panties. She's wearing pantyhose.
She's still wearing pantyhose. Thank you.
Who wears pantyhose
and not
to have sex?
Stockings. Like she doesn't have a garder on. She's wearing full pantyhose
over her waist.
Like Kim.
She wants to make it difficult for him. I mean, we can all attest to the difficulty of having to put on or take off pantyhose.
Oh my God.
It seems lovely, but her hair is rising out of her skull as if she has been recently electrified. And he has gotten hair plugs that have not grown in. There is a front shelf to his hair that seems to be independent of what's happening behind it.
Yeah, I gotta respect the filmmakers though, because they are not casting actors for their looks in these movies.
No.
Like if you look at this, and you look at Pieces, and you look at Pod People. I mean,
half of them are the same people.
Yeah, none of these actors are lookers.
All of them deserve to have a dead hand rip their penis off.
He is not in this film. That actor. I don't know how he escaped the Slugs.
I feel like he should have been cast as like the high school student.
Oh my God, he'd have been the boyfriend.
Yeah,
that's probably who they wrote that role for. But he just couldn't do it.
There is one guy in the background when Mike is introducing Kim to Dawn, who has, I think, a slug as his mustache. It seems to take up, I'd say, 35% of the real estate of his face.
I was so furious at Amazon Prime because you can't screen cap or anything, and I didn't feel.
I have.
Okay, thank you, because the world needs to see what is happening with this extra in the background, because I don't know how that's even possible.
I don't know either, but once I saw it, I had to rewind and really work on trying to find the best shot of it, because he's in profile, so you can't see his whole face. But if there's one whole face I want to see in this motion picture, it's his. I want to know what's happening with that mustache, y'all.
It's astonishing. This is also one of these scenes where, again, the wardrobe department was just going, I don't know, because no one is dressed for the same kind of venue.
No. What is this venue? Like,
I guess it's just the local steakhouse or something. But Kim is wearing a very shiny, peplum, very 80s. 80s mom goes out.
It's a shiny plaid, which is not something you see every day.
No, it's
rayon
astonishing.
Plaid.
Yeah, it looks a little bit like, it looks like it's made out of a Christmas tree skirt.
Maureen is, of course, wearing all black and stockings and the whole, not like bright red pumps, because she's the lush. So
she's wearing black and alcohol. That's what she has. Yeah.
And her husband is wearing a full suit because he's a businessman.
Very businessman. I don't have his name in front of us because it's not spoken aloud until halfway through the movie. It's just something. He's just a character that happens. We do meet someone important here, and that's Don. He's the county sanitation supervisor, or as he refers to it, a college-educated poor plumber. So that's Don, and Don's very Spanish wife,
who is apparently like a name, I guess, in Spain, because she gets the and, which I know is just, her agent was like, she gets the and, but still.
Like a special guest appearance by.
Yeah.
Yeah, Concha. I'm going to ruin this poor woman's name, and she doesn't deserve it, but Concha Cuetos.
She's the mom from Pod People.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, this movie seems to have a very puzzled idea of what sewer workers and the health department do.
I mean, it's the only, it's really the only movie I've ever seen about heroic civil servants.
Because
half heroic, the other half you want to toss into a slug-filled pond.
True.
Because Mike is called in. Mike works for the health department. He is called in these various slug-related death scenes, and yet nobody seems to know why he is there or who called him in.
No, they just demand he come up with answers, and answers quick.
And the answers he does come up with, they don't like.
No, so he goes with the sheriff the next morning. They're evicting Ron Bell, I guess, because he's a slob.
Yeah,
I think
he does spy an eviction notice before his slug explosion. Yeah,
there's a vague development plot line, which is how the toxic waste comes into play, because we will learn later that 25 years before, they covered up a toxic waste dump, which I guess no one was alive or in town to remember this.
Yeah.
It's sort of like Star Wars, where everyone's like, what were those Clone Wars that happened when I was alive, but I don't remember. I didn't watch the news.
Like many things on this program, it is a thing of myth that was probably reported in a newspaper, but no one retains that information.
No. And so I guess he's probably being evicted half because he's a slob and half because they want to tear his house down. But why would, I guess the health inspector is there because, oh, Ron, you're nasty. And the music in that sequence when they go to Ron's house is something from a buddy cop comedy episode.
Oh my God, the music. Let's can we talk a minute about the music in this?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, obviously, it is all public domain music.
Oh yeah.
I think there might be one quote unquote rock song on the soundtrack playing during the party these teenagers have towards the end of the movie. But you've got this like TJ Hooker-esque, adventure cop music. You've got the Aloha song in one scene.
Yeah.
she just changes the station on her radio. And
I've never been to a town that has more public domain music radio stations.
And then my absolute favorite moment, I thought for a second that I was having an auditory hallucination. Towards the end of the movie where they're having their big final confrontation with the Slugs, the music that is playing is from a very notable Kids in the Hall sketch in which a character claims to have had the pear dream.
Again.
Again. This is, yes. This is what
bum, 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 bum.
Was I there?
Bum, bum.
Yeah,
you were
lost. It is just look it up. Just look up the pear dream, and this is the music that they use, and it is in Slug. It's supposed to be very scary. Oh my God, can these two survive? Music, and it is incredible.
Isn't
it also used in the to-do list for Kids in the Hall? I've got 7 things to do.
It might be, but I think but this is the one. The pear dream is one that really stands out because it's such a key element of the sketch and what makes it funny.
Yeah, I agree. Oh my God, the music here is insane. I just want to say before we get to the sheriff a little bit, I did have one note that really everyone needs to hear, and that is I am against the low purr that Mike makes during lovemaking.
I am against all of the lovemaking that happens in this movie.
Yeah, frankly, down with it.
There's no more sex-obsessed but anti-sex movie than Slugs.
It is.
I'm going to get gross here, and I'm going to say I'm completely against the slapping noises.
My God.
Look at the one sex scene.
Oh man!
Where we're supposed to believe that the girl is so into it that she is sobbing in ecstasy.
Like she's having a crygasm. Is that what's happening?
She's so into this guy just railing her uncomfortably while he drinks whiskey.
He's got a whiskey dick situation, and she's saying, "Don't stop. I'm in the middle of weeping."
He's gonna have to stop because he can't stop. He has to stop to drink because he's 45 and he's dating a 17-year-old.
Well, he looks like a teenage Cro-Magnon. It's wild, the forehead and head of hair that he's rocking. Oh man, all of the teenagers here look like they were pulled out of a Mad Magazine parody. They just all look like they are riddled with acne and have a serious glandular problem, and also they're 27.
I could not give a shit less that people in their very small town are being found with the flesh stripped from their bones.
Yeah, there is an abject total dismissal of these stripped from skin blood skeletons that they find. Like, well, it's another one of those. Well, put them in the bag, boys.
Yeah, this scene.
Let's get on with the daily jobs we all have.
This scene where this guy's face melts off happens in the middle of a crowded restaurant. And yeah, everybody's a little like, oh my God. And then like nobody talks about it. The people he dies in front of don't beat feet and get the fuck out of town. No, they have business to conduct. They have to continue signing this contract with this man whose face melted off in front of them started.
Yeah, one of the guys who's signing that contract says the phrase, well, we might as well do it. not once, but twice. And that's not what I think of when like someone's hot to do business. Is like, I might as well sign this contract. No, you don't have to. Might as well do it at Trombino's, the local Italian joint, which the waiter is like, would you like the hors d'oeuvres?
That's just so that they can say, I think there's worms in the food, and they can have, somebody's Uncle Giovanni being, really upset about it and
basically
doing a lot of hand gestures.
100% ripping off the same scene from 78 Invasion of the Body Snatchers. They had the exact same scene in there, except it was a caper that was mistaken for a rat shit.
See, now we have 2 movies in a row, Gina, that are directly ripping off that 70s Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
And it's not even an animals attack movie. It's a people attack movie.
It's an alien movie. Like, they're alien invaders. But everyone's like, an essential part of this is we have to have a health inspector. Otherwise, it's not an animal attack movie. Like, no, that's not a thing, y'all.
But honestly, maybe this is why I've never opened up a business or gone into business or been a business person. But if I'm trying to set up a deal with someone and their fucking face melts off in front of me, yeah. I'm gonna take that as a portent of maybe I shouldn't go through with this deal.
Yeah, that's like you're buying land, and the last thing you want at your casual business lunch is someone's slug explosion to happen right in front of you. And the female half of this business duo, whose name we never hear, is like, I don't know, I'm slightly disturbed by this. And the guy's like, oh, no. I got to make this mall in the middle of slug country. Where's a pen?
And then the mayor's like, oh, call the police on the health inspector. It's like, didn't you hire him?
Yeah.
Like, nobody seems,
right now. Like, he works for you.
Nobody seems to know who the health inspector works for.
And Mike's
I
like,
think that's kind of
slugs coming out of the sinks. All you have to do is turn on the sink. And the mayor's like, all right, I've got one. And he opens up a secret cabinet in his office that's behind a bookcase. He has a sink behind his bookcase.
Yeah, all these bureaucrats seem to have like their own personal toilet.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, the town budget in Ashton, wherever fucking state this is supposed to be, Spain, Ashton,
Spain, North Spain.
Is just through the roof for private toilets. Everyone's got one. And
there's a lot of shots of toilets in this movie.
There is a disturbing amount of toilets in this movie.
What kills me about the sequence when they find Ron Bell's body is that, one, we have, of course, the deputy who is all overcome. He never saw anything like that, not even in Nam. And when they're driving, I don't know, back from wherever, they're trying to debate what they could have been. The sheriff's ideas are wild dogs or raccoons. Yeah. Mike points out that either of those animals would have done more damage to the general area and not just, and if it's a raccoon, they would have shit somewhere because that's what they do. Yeah. And he suggests rats, which the sheriff is like, oh, bullshit. And it's like, okay. I think it's a little more likely, first of all.
I draw the line at rats.
Yeah.
Real flex.
Also, I could think of like 6 movies where rats eat people's faces. So come on. I mean, I think we know it's possible.
Yeah. Oh, there's that rat movie from Canada, Gina, where they dressed up wiener dogs as rats.
Oh, are you talking about the one where they like attack a bunch of people on a subway?
Yes.
Oh, that's Deadly Eyes.
Yeah.
Deadly Eyes.
That was another one. That was another one that
really, baby eating in it.
Yeah, that's another one that freaked me out when I was a kid. And basically like the rats win at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever there's an actual like a kid gets it, which in the book Slugs happens. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I think is it Grizzly where the kid gets his arm ripped off by a bear. Of course, Alligator.
Yes.
The kid gets pushed in the pool.
We did. We just covered Prophecy, where a kid gets flanged into a rock.
Oh God, I can see it in my mind. It's beautiful in my mind's eye.
Are we trademarking flanged?
Yes, we are now.
All right.
He tries so hard.
Let's make a T-shirt out of it.
Hops for his life. But yeah, no, not to rats. And then I think the next ones are the old people.
Oh yeah! Oh my God! This is
Gina's favorite sequence.
Yes, the melting, the face melting is probably the grossest. This is the dumbest one.
This is
I mean, we have to talk about the mechanics involved here with a slug crawling into your glove, and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm being thrown around by the slug in my glove. I
have forgotten how to take off a glove.
The only way I can think of this is hand me that hatchet. No. Cut off the parts of maybe your hand that it's biting, but you don't have to cut off the entire hand. That's not really how it works. And then he does it so hard that he causes sparks and the entire greenhouse explodes.
Because apparently he has like acid in his greenhouse?
Greenhouses, this is my note, is just WTF is in greenhouses.
Yeah.
Because also in the movie Frogs, animals like cause a chemical reaction that makes a poison gas that kills a guy.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Sorry.
What is in greenhouses? Maybe I have like Miracle Grow.
Well, I mean, fertilizers can be explosive,
right? But they're not giving off. But they're not giving off like smoke when you knock it over. And this is clearly liquid. He's knocking over. Like he's got like mason jars full of kerosene or something.
Yeah, they were also storing all their gas for the lawnmower and a ton of nitrate film.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, this scene also has one of my favorite bits of dialogue in it, which his wife brings in a plant and says, "What are these?" And he says, "They're slugs' eggs." I don't care what they are. You just fucking asked.
There are so many moments like that in this script where someone will say, "Well, you can't do that." I think I'm going to do that. Wait, no, I said you what? And you're just like, oh, no one ever went back.
Yeah. No, there are no second takes in this movie.
Like, we're sorry.
Every movie we've done lately, other than like the Scream movies, just feels like we are on a very limited budget for film here.
There is a real whiplash going from Scream to
oh my God, Scream 2. I already thought it was great. Now it's like some kind of fucking masterpiece.
Well, this greenhouse goes up.
Oh, well, but after 5 minutes of him chopping in his hand and yelling, "Help me, Joan! Help me, Joan!" And Joan's like,
hand Evil Dead 2 style, just like leading him on a trail of destruction for 3 minutes.
And meanwhile, Joan's in the house, like bopping away to the, Aloha A song for some reason.
They couldn't afford the theme from A Summer Place.
Yeah. I don't understand why why having something in your glove renders you unable to take it off.
I think he was just it was in so much pain. Just so much pain. Gina.
He's in a pain panic. And
I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I recently spilled a bunch of nail glue on my leg. And I was kind of in a pain panic because I was wearing leggings and I was like, oh, let me get a rag. Oh, God, it's going through the fabric. Nail glue, God. Ladies and gentlemen. Wow. I'm fine. But
okay, good.
I think, I wasn't being led around by my leg necessarily, but I think there was probably a moment that my husband was like, I don't know what's happening, but maybe I have to get a hatchet.
But no one grabbed the hatchet.
Well, but unfortunately, Billy was out in the living room just dancing to Aloha A.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Just vacuuming and dancing around.
He's one of those she shanty folks. So I'm losing it. I'm losing my leg in the office.
We've now had 2 movies where people get lost in vacuum dancing. This and Sleepwalkers. So that's like a legit thing. Like vacuum dancing will put you in another realm.
Well, this is loud old vacuums. They didn't have Roombas.
So whenever I vacuum, I'm always convinced I hear the doorbell ring.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, and you guys have younger children, so you're vacuuming. You're convinced you hear your kid yelling, "Mommy" or "Daddy."
Oh no, my kid hates the sound of vacuuming, so she'll just walk into the room and yell, "Stop!" Our lives are endlessly inconvenient to hers.
Yeah. I don't know about yours, Megan, but my kid has a habit of eating food while walking around the house.
Mm-hmm.
Like you put a plate of food in front of them at a table or a kitchen bar. He's like, great, thanks. Picks up the food with his fingers and starts walking around doing business.
Yeah, there's a lot of, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to play in my room. Why do you have your lunch? Lunch doesn't go in your room.
Yeah.
We're going to bring that back out into where we eat food. And
just leaving a trail to the witch's house.
She is the witch. I love her, but...
That's Harold and wife. They explode. Maureen gets drunk on 3 fingers of creme de menthe and falls asleep to a seaweed western. I don't know what's happening.
I do want to point out, though, that when Mike learns about the death of the old people, he does my favorite acting of all time, which is his wife says, did you hear it happened? And he says, no. And he's like, what about them? And she says, they died. There was a big explosion in their greenhouse. And he goes, no. They were nice people, and I liked them a lot.
Yeah, I love that. He sounds so sincere.
And if there was ever, he's not facing the camera, if there was ever an argument for ADR, like, please just let this guy do it one more time.
Nope. They've only got one shot at this. And if he emphasizes the wrong syllable, it doesn't much matter.
It's like they were filming a play. We can't go back.
Oh, this movie has big filming to play in it. Once a camera is put down, it's not getting picked back up again. No. We do what we have to cover here, and then, we just literally salt the earth behind us and move on.
If they'd salt the earth, the slugs wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he tries to poison them with like slug poison, but they just eat it up like it's candy.
They eat it up like candy. I love how the wife's like, why don't you try salting them? They're like, oh, hey, it's a good idea. Yeah, nobody tries that.
Like, who hasn't heard of that? Although, to be fair, we get slugs in our house sometimes, and I've put salt down in front of, like, the door frame, and I think they're just sort of like, yeah, okay.
They got a little tiny pole wall. Hey, there you go.
A business guy is named David. I finally figured it out.
They have the blandest names.
Yeah, they're not super creative with the naming in this movie.
Someone just flipped through a book, and was like, I don't know, Kim.
Just threw darts at a phone book. And this is what they came up
Maureen.
With.
Good. It's fine.
But when David comes home, he's like, did you make dinner? And she's like, I thought we would eat healthy and have a salad. And David goes, well, I was kind of hoping for a steak. And she's like, well, we eat too much red meat. And he goes, well, I was kind of hoping that we would have sex first. He's kind of hoping for a lot of shit.
Like, did you mention you wanted a steak this morning before you left for work, David? Because, I mean...
Yeah, you don't have to try cooking your own goddamn steak.
Yeah,
David.
really.
How about contribute? If you want steaks, why don't you pick some up on the way fucking home, and then we can cook them together, asshole.
Also, I mean, they seem to be doing pretty well. Honestly, just go out to dinner then. You want a steak so bad, we'll go out, let someone else make it.
I don't know how David gets all the slug parts of the salad, because when she's chopping through it, like, there's olive-style rings of slug in every single slice.
That's how I don't know how he doesn't notice this.
I think you can also see the wires that were keeping the slug model, like, in the lettuce. Also, she has no other vegetables but the greens.
It's
and
lettuce.
anchovies.
It is a big bowl of lettuce. That's not even a Caesar salad. I was like, she made a Caesar salad. But no, you put anchovies in the dressing in Caesar salad. You don't just toss anchovies into a salad.
Also, nothing else. Like, I know you're eating light, but nothing, bread.
I mean, I sometimes enjoy anchovies on pizza, but I can't even imagine just having a raw ass anchovy on top of a salad.
And that's all it is. It's lettuce and anchovies. Here's your salad.
Yeah, it's like salad.
It's like eating a mustache salad.
Well, I know a guy in a bar who has a great mustache for this. He's got mustache to spare.
He wanted to be in a movie, but he was also wanted for many crimes, and he had to hide his face.
Mainly against humanity. Then we learned that the business that he's in is called Calgore. So
he's a businessman for business.
He does business.
He does business for Business Incorporated
with other business people.
we then cut to 2 more old people, and I thought Bobby was going to rob them. Unfortunately, it turns out that he's just waiting for them to leave so he can have sex with his girlfriend, as we denoted earlier, by causing her to crygasm.
Explain how this house works. I don't understand the layout of this house.
Inappropriate stairs. Like, I don't know where they're all going. It's obviously two stories because you can see it from the outside.
Yeah.
But the front door seems to go to a sunken mud room.
Yeah, and they have a full bar downstairs.
Yeah.
Which...
Well, this has got to be the Midwest. Like, if you're in the Midwest, you have a bar downstairs because you're not coming up for 3 months. So you might as well, you know.
Well, my aunt has one, and she's in New Jersey. So, you know.
Hey.
But
I'm in LA. We don't have basements here, so
hers isn't in a basement. It's just in the living room. I'm just saying she has a full bar. I think it's also that same bar.
When is your aunt invited me over? This sounds like a damn good time.
She would, honestly.
Well, keep me in mind. You know, the next time there's a party happening, give me a ringy dingy, and I'll come over and make sure I have lots of whiskey before I have sex, because nothing goes better with premarital sex than too much whiskey.
And I guess, you know, she's just been so eager for it, because earlier we saw them. He was picking her up after school, and of course they're that makeout couple.
She's like licking his face in one scene.
Oh my God!
Just
when they're in the restaurant,
stop it! My God,
they're all also so offended. They call Kim the wicked bitch of the North, which is how Maria introduces herself to Kim early on in the movie. She's like, "Oh, she doesn't look like a bitch." And Kim's like, "Excuse me."
The film, the writing in this movie is so, you know, so great and so astute at character development. We never actually see why she has this nickname.
No, she's teaching them. I think it's Romeo and Juliet. Yeah, and she gives them homework, which is read Act 3, and then we're gonna have a quiz, which is homework for when you're reading a play. And they're just like, "Oh my God, this bitch!"
But now we're reading Act 3 of this because there's a quiz on Monday. That's why she's a bitch. She has a
don't want to go. Pam doesn't want to go to this Halloween party because, you know, they're going to have that exam, and everyone acts like, "Well, we can't let that bitch control our lives." Well, no, you have exams in school.
Yeah, I like the arbitrary, you know, Halloween party, and at no other point in time in this movie does this movie appear to take place around Halloween.
These are the parts they filmed in Spain, and they were like, "We don't know what is." They go to a party, right?
It's a Halloween party. No one is dressed up.
No,
there's no decorations anywhere because they go to someone's house prior to the party, and like there's not like a jack-o'-lantern or, you know, there's
just one jack-o'-lantern in this entire thing, and it's on a Chevy conversion van, and that's it.
And the movie opens with a couple about to go skinny dipping. So you're skinny dipping in the Midwest in October.
Ooh.
October 29th is the best time to hop in a lake.
I am dubious.
I'd believe it if it took place in Maryland, because you never know what you're going to get on Halloween.
Well, that's true, but I just assume this is supposed to be the Midwest.
Yeah, no, I concur, because I think a lot of movies that are filmed in Europe that are taking place in America, they're just like, I don't know, what do they have? The Midwest. That seems like a place for this.
I don't understand the layout of this town or its placement and wherever. It's like the Springville of The Simpsons. Is it Springville? What is it?
Springfield. You're right.
Springfield.
Yeah, okay, Springfield. Yeah. I said Springville. So that's how fucking out of it I am.
Shelbyville is the next town over.
That's
rivals.
Right. I confused the two. Yeah. That's an excuse that I'm going to take to the bank.
Yeah.
So after these guys unsuccessfully have sex, she falls over into a floor full of slugs.
Oh my
God. He's like,
and is immediately rendered incapacitated.
Yeah. Well, she's got to writhe around nude.
Well, yes. Yeah. Like here, I don't understand like the biology of the slugs. They have teeth apparently.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But like the mere act of you just kind of falling on them, all of a sudden you're paralyzed. You can't get up. You can't.
The slime paralyzes.
Yeah, it's the slime.
You can't step on any of them. You can't smash any of them with your hand.
The inexplicably English science teacher at their school talks at length about slug biology. I mean, I didn't pay attention.
Yeah.
But he says they have several rows of teeth that allow them to grind what they're eating. That their slime is dissuades predators because predators don't like it, but they glide on it like a carpet. I don't think he understands how fucking carpets work.
Like I don't know how the mere act of just rolling around would not kill a bunch of them.
Well, but a whole bunch of them are zipping inside of her body. As soon as she's on the ground, they're all like digging into her.
Clench that butt, girl. Jesus.
She's
Not
too
all
upset.
All of the slugs enter butts, everyone. There's specific
I don't know
slugs
that's
that enter
true.
Butts.
I will not even get into what the cockroaches do in the nest. So
let's leave that for when we cover the nest. For
I think they left that out
April.
of the movie adaptation. But the issue with the slugs, I think it's just you're so overwhelmed by the fact that, oh my God, I've fallen into a ton of slugs. And then before you can do anything about it, they are upon you.
Yeah.
Plus, this is just to see boobs.
And they're chewing their way through you. They're just the lickety split. As soon as she's on the ground, they've bored through her spinal column.
The sole special effect that they do for a slug is a slug going, hump. And we see his big old teeth, his big old chompers. So I guess if they all have that.
He's got like hippo teeth by the looks of it. He doesn't even have fangs. They look like hippo teeth.
This is definitely one of those animal attack movies that suffers for the fact that they decided to use so many real animals. It is very, to bring it up again, it's very like Frogs, because there are sequences in Frogs where like lizards are just crawling towards people and the people have to act afraid.
Yeah.
Like a woman is killed by a very slowly approaching snapping turtle because it's a real snapping turtle. And what's he going to do? I mean, well, I know what he'll do when he gets there, but they don't show that. He's just kind of, here I come. Here I come.
Yeah, it's like Night of the Lepus, where you just have like, close up a little twitching bunny noses, and then somebody like, no, and then, like a pile of bones.
It's also like the steamroller death in
Austin Powers. Yeah.
Well, and I think that we established that Gina, this would be your end, because if you fell into a pile of slugs, you would just lay there. I
probably would. Yeah. I mean, I've had a good run.
Is this the end?
Yeah.
Is this the end of Gina?
I always knew it would have been this way. Just falling into a pile of slugs.
Yeah. And once you do, like, if you do get bit, although this doesn't seem to happen to Mike, but because of the blood parasite situation, you're eventually going to explode.
Hey,
yeah. What happened to Mike? Why didn't he
Well, he's our hero.
Why didn't he slug out?
Yeah. I mean, how dare a film of the caliber of Slugs be consistent with what happens to people when they're attacked? If you ever wanted to watch a movie in which someone aggressively parks a K-car station wagon, Slugs is the movie for you. Because you will watch Mike pull into parking lots, up sidewalks, up to crime scenes, out to the county sheriff's station. You will see him park every single time and go, wow, that guy can park a K-car.
And run from it.
Well, he always looks very, he always aggressively pulls into places because he never seems to know, and nobody ever seems to know who has called him to these scenes. Because the sheriff is always like, what are you doing here? What do you want? And it's like,
and then that old lady just calls whoever.
Yeah.
She's just been calling everyone in town.
Yeah. And it's just like, who is in charge of him? Who is calling him to these places?
His poor put upon secretary.
Yeah, she really gets it in this. I mean, she lives as far as we're aware, but she's just abused at work.
Yeah.
Is what it comes down to. The other musical cue that I'm not sure we've talked about is some sort of violin out of a Dracula movie. It's like they're trying to lure the Frankenstein's monster to you or something.
Yeah, man. I mean, I know a lot of low budget movies use music in the public domain, but I mean, this is like they didn't even pick music that went with the scenes.
No, they just needed something.
It's like, oh, they're driving around. Well, here's this 70s cop show music. Perfect.
Gina, who has the authority to declare happy birthday in that town?
I mean, if it's not the mayor, I have no idea.
the guy who's apparently in charge of the water is not the main cop, but the side cop.
Now see, I could have sworn that he and the sheriff were the same character.
No.
So I was very confused when
the sheriff gets many lines. This guy, I think it's almost a cameo, so that we remember him from Pieces and from Pod People.
He's sort of like he's sort of like a not Leslie Nielsen.
He's doing his one-man show. Leslie Nielsen.
Yes. With exclamation points after everything.
Perhaps I wasn't paying as close attention to Slugs, the movie, as I should have been for this endeavor.
Wow.
But I was very confused when this character died, and then I thought there was such a glaring continuity error that he showed up at the end of the movie again. And I'll give you two things you might think was amusing. I thought that he was being controlled by the slugs.
That'd be amazing. If he just like his hat falls off at the end and he's just got little antennae.
Or he's just like
slugs in a sheriff's uniform.
Or he's just like a pile of slugs shaped into a man. And then when I realized, this movie is not that cool, I messaged Megan. I was like, "Wait, is this the same guy?" And she's like, "No, I think that's another guy." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
There's a lot of interchangeable white men in this movie.
Yeah, if the mayor and the sheriff were just a bag of slugs being operated,
because everybody treats slugs. Mike the same way. Where, a couple people were found with the flesh stripped from their bones, but we've got this mall we got to open up. Don't make trouble or anything about these people who were found with the flesh stripped from their bones.
No, just that old toxic waste dump. Let's build the mall there. So, but I do have to make one notation here about this character, Frank, who's in charge of the water, who says you don't have the authority to declare happy birthday. And that is, we interrupt him eating a meal of a hamburger with beets and peas. The great American meal.
Well, it occurred to me that all of these movies, you want to say the vast majority of animal attack movies, made after 1975, all have the Mayor of Amity character, the character who this is bad, but we got to make money, and no other movie has done it as well as Jaws has. No.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just it becomes all movies that have had this character in them, it just becomes extremely implausible after a point that, particularly you would get that a mayor of a seaside town would kind of minimize shark attacks as a rare thing. Yeah, okay, this girl got killed, that's bad, but this is probably not going to happen again. But when you have the police chief or whatever the hell he was, and like the water guy and the mayor basically ignoring that that people are being found with no skin on their bones, with their eyeballs eaten out, and say, we need to not talk about this because our mall may not get built.
I don't know. That death could have been suicide. We need a medical examiner to really give this a second look.
Even the fact that Mike says, well, he was inspecting like some new houses being built in the development, and they were all covered in slug trails. I'm like, I feel like somebody should, drive around there and maybe lay down some salt or something.
Whether or not the slugs are carnivorous, nobody wants to build a home, where there is a slug infestation.
You'd think.
Well, yeah.
We also find a dead body that mysteriously explodes halfway through the footage of it inside of this little vegetable shed.
Yes.
And then it kind of, I think I figured out what the hidden agenda of Slugs is. This is an anti-vegetable diatribe. Everyone who eats vegetables dies.
I was thinking about that like, if what's his face? If David had gotten that steak, his face wouldn't have melted. His face wouldn't have melted off.
It's true. You're right. Yeah. And
so if you have the choice between a salad and a steak, take the steak unless you want your face to melt.
So there you go, Patrick. If Becky ever tries to encourage you to go on a vegetarian diet, you can look at her, point at your face, say, "Do you love this face? Do you want it to melt off in front of your very eyes?
We will have to ask her in a couple weeks, but I have a feeling she might go with her hand waving back and forth like in a kinda.
She's like, I really enjoy a salad.
Clean up a worm explosion, but still.
Yeah, I mean, if you might live and have a little bit of a two-faced thing going on. That could be kind of cool.
She'd just make you go outside once it started to seem like it was getting close. She'd be like, why don't you just head out to the patio?
Yeah.
So we could just use the hose on that. Do
Two-Faces live in a society, or is it just the Jokers?
I think it's just the Jokers.
Yeah.
I wanted to live in a society. Oh, well. I live in a world in which the dancing in this movie is a fucking war crime. I'll tell you that right now.
This party is lame. Not that I ever went to a party. I never went to a party in high school, but I would not have gone to this one.
Yeah, we were not missing out on much.
No.
This is what people were doing.
Pam is getting it from one guy who's like, I'm just your friend. Now I'm going to put my hand down your pants. And she's like, fuck this noise. And then another guy puts on a skull mask and says, I'm going to sexually assault you. And then she falls into an open sewer and is killed by slugs. So her congratulations for surviving and avoiding 2 sexual assaults is to get murdered by slugs. So this movie's got a really great idea about sex.
I would say that we sometimes have cover movies that have a really, really high death count. This doesn't have a high enough death count.
No, the mayor doesn't get it. The sheriff doesn't get it. The water guy does get it, but that's about it. Like none of the
via his toilet.
Get it.
So let's all think about how that probably happened.
Maureen lives, probably because she's pickled herself, and slugs don't like that, I'm guessing.
The slugs just leave. They get a little bite. They're like, oh, no.
The sheriff's deputy who had seen less gross things and
who was a nom at age 9, apparently.
Yeah. That's another reason why this movie should have been made in 1981. I think part of that with Pam is that I don't recall if anything exactly similar happens in the book because they don't have Halloween in England. But these sorts of books do have a tendency they don't follow any kind of quote unquote like horror rules of, oh, well, if you're, the good girl, as it were, you're fine. An animal's going to get you no matter who you are or where. So at least I respect its devotion to that. But also poor Pam just wanted to study for her test. I mean,
she just wanted to go home from this shitty party, and it couldn't happen for her.
Mike, they get like a secret potion that the science teacher invents to kill slugs.
That explodes upon contact with water, and then Mike's like, "I've got a great idea. Let's take it into the sewer."
Which
he's like told like that is a terrible idea, and he's like, "Oh, a terrible idea that just might work." Yeah. And somehow everyone listens to him.
Let's blow up the entire town to kill the slugs.
That I'm okay with. Some towns gotta go.
Well, that's true,
They can't all be good, Gina.
That's true.
No, I mean, sometimes it's gotta be like phantoms and it's just everybody gotta go.
Yeah. Sometimes they have to be erased off the face of the planet. There's nothing left for these people. It's now the toxic slugs town.
Yeah.
Just leave it to them. They earned it.
They go and get Dawn. Poor Dawn, who just wants to play football. And
all he wants to do is play football with his... He has a family. Those are his 2 kids.
Yeah, his sons are going to the party, so they're out of the way. But Maria just wants to stay at home. And, I mean, again, because they owe a lot of this to Jaws, they're just going to get drunk and fool around. But he promises her that he's going to come back. And, spoiler alert, he does not. Dawn. No. R.I.P. Dawn. He's a hero.
He falls into a slug well and just gets alive. After they search around that this movie's at a lightning pace until they go into the sewers, and then it slows down.
They can't find where those slugs are coming from, even though there's slugs everywhere.
At one point, they just like throw an open electric cable into an open water source, and it just electrifies some slugs.
And the science teacher talks about, that's probably their breeding ground, but we've seen them lay eggs all over plants.
Right.
They're breeding wherever they want.
Where you lay eggs isn't exactly where they're having sex. And
I don't know if slugs have to have sex with each other.
No, he mentions that they can fertilize their own eggs.
Also, earlier in the film, when Kim and Mike are having sex, there are slugs on their window watching them and also having sex. So they're just doing it wherever they want.
Where did they learn it? They learned it from them.
Oh.
And now these slugs they don't have
What are Kim and Mike
sex.
doing? Okay.
All
right.
Listen, these slugs don't have to have sex with one another. They like having sex with
That's
one
fine.
another.
They can, whatever they like.
They do it for pleasure. They do it for fun. They do
It's
it to procreate.
fine.
It's healthy. Okay? These slugs love to do it.
It probably looks like a shunting, but that's their own business.
Much like everybody, all the humans in town, they just cannot stop doing it.
No, they just got to get
this
some
town is
action
so
tonight.
horny.
But again, not in a sexy way, in a kind of repulsive sort of way.
Yeah. No, this movie is all repulsive. Every part of it is repulsive. The idea of eating pizza is repulsive in Slugs.
Everyone is in a marriage that is on the edge.
Which makes you wonder how they're still having sex so often. That's usually the first. That's usually the first thing that
is keeping them together. Is the dangerous slug-filled sex.
That's usually the first thing to go when your marriage goes south.
Not in Ashford.
Yeah. Here, the first thing to go is steak, and then sex.
First, you can't have the dinner you want. Then you can't have a wild hors d'oeuvre, which is how he refers to their lovemaking.
And then your face melts off.
Yeah. We already mentioned it a little bit, but of course, it should be noted that the chemistry teacher, pal, dude is, are we British then? But I think probably wasn't British.
No, he's Spanish.
All of his stuff is ADR.
Yeah, I looked it up. I was like, wait, where did they find this guy?
It seems that character seems to have been set up specifically just to die, and then he doesn't.
Yeah.
No, and if you need him to open up a manhole cover, he is not your dude.
No.
He openly fails at it.
Well, that's why I thought that the white-haired guy who shows up there and kind of looks at him sort of sinisterly was the guy who died earlier, because the science looks up at him like oh, it's you, and then looks all nervous, and I'm like, okay.
Well, because they're not supposed to be doing that. It's sort of like, Ghostbusters 2.
Oh, well, okay. All right.
What are you doing here in the manhole?
This is exactly like Ghostbusters 2.
Just
which
a
would only
slimy.
be released 1 year later, so we know where they got it.
Which is amazing because, like you were saying, they're two very different breed of 80s.
Yeah. Very
like I said, if you told me that this movie had been sitting on the shelf for 7 years before they released it, I absolutely would believe you.
Yeah.
And for all I know, it was. This could have been made in 1985. There would be no difference in the end result of it. And it just sat around and someone said, wait a second, we spent $1.25 million on a movie named Slugs. Maybe we should edit the footage together. And someone else said, no, I've seen some of the footage. And he's like, I said, do it, Jerry. And then we got Slugs. And then they blow up the whole town, and the pyro budget is absolutely worth it.
They show the same building blowing up twice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it was a great explosion.
Explosions are happening all around the children at their party.
Yeah.
Who eventually react. Like, manhole covers are exploding, and finally someone's just like, ah!
The Jaeger is flowing at that party, though, Megan. They're getting lit up in that piece. For sure.
It's a terrible party.
Just
Just dancing around someone's truck.
That is very realistic to the 3 parties that I attended in high school. There was a lot of dancing around a truck.
All right.
But it's all for naught because one slug survived, and all it takes is one.
Yep.
And then the earth is over. So
even though that remaining slug is on top of a grate, which is probably 7,000 degrees. Right. And I don't think slugs are immune to heat, but all right.
No, I don't think the slime protects them for that because they done blowed up real good before that. So why he's not, slug fricassee in that very moment, I couldn't tell you.
I also like that you can kind of tell that slug does. I mean, obviously he doesn't know he's being filmed, but it's just this sort of like, well, why am I on this? Why'd you put me here?
Megan, you bring up a great point. How many slugs do you think were aware that they were being filmed and were playing to the back of the theater?
The one that sneaks out and eats the hamster, I think he knew. This was his moment.
No, that slug was that's your premier.
Yeah.
That's your top of the call sheet slug right there.
And he was ready.
Yeah. So that just about does it. But of course, before we go, it's time to play a little game, and we call it Choose Your Own Death Adventure. And that's where we decide of the deaths presented in this motion picture, which one would you choose if forced, and why? Up for bid, you have a slug couch. You have hatchet to your hand and you explode. Post-coital slugging. We have a slug explosion. We have more slugs on your grains. We got a slug burger. We have a slug sexual assault and slug stew. Megan, you're our guest and resident slugs expert, and I choose you to go first.
Well, I definitely do not want my head to explode because he was in a lot of gastrointestinal distress before that, and I don't need that in my life.
Are there any of these that you do need in your life?
Well, no, but I'd rather not spend my entire night like coughing up blood or, tasting metal in my mouth, whatever that guy was going through first. I mean, I guess I'd want to go out like Pam because she just seems to kind of fall face into it and that's the end.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of suffering and you reach up towards a boyfriend who up until this point was sexing you so good that you're openly weeping.
No. Pam, the one who falls in the sewer.
Oh.
No, because I don't want my last moments on Earth to have been getting railed by that guy.
Your last moments on Earth are almost getting railed by two other guys.
No, my last moments on Earth are running through the forest.
She managed to maintain her virtue.
I'm not even worried about that. Not that guy.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll give you that one. Gina, what say you?
Yeah, I originally was going to say face melting, but yeah, I had to agree with Megan. That guy seemed to be suffering a lot of discomfort in the hours leading up to that. I don't want that. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take what seemed to be the fairly quick one of the opening scene where the guy just falls into the water and just gets like chummed to death. But before I pass the microphone over to you, Patrick, I'm looking at the Goofs page for Slugs on IMDb.
Does it say the entire running time after Goofs?
My favorite one is incorrectly regarded as Goofs, which says, normal slugs don't have teeth, but these are mutant slugs. In case you were wondering.
Point made. Asked and answered. Other courtroom terms.
Who wrote that? Who filled that in? Who was sitting at home
Name
one day?
Come forward and say your piece in front of us in this slug court.
In front of God and everyone.
Yeah. Oh boy. I think I'm gonna go with post-coital slugging. But
really?
Instead of the girl who falls on the ground immediately, I want to be that mutant guy who fails to do the floor is lava maneuver to get to the window and then falls in, because that feels very me.
I mean, you're all right having incredibly unsatisfying sex immediately beforehand?
I mean, I think that's what high school and my early 20s was. Yeah, sure, why not? There was plenty of uncomfortable sex having, I'm sure. It got better, everyone. I really worked at it, so getting great reviews now. Just want to put that out there. I'm not available, but just so you know, put together a mood board, and I said, this is what I'm working towards attaining, and I practiced really hard to get there.
Manifested.
Yeah, the secret.
That's the secret. All right. Megan, where can people find you on these here internets?
I am the co-host of Let's Get Weirding, a Dune podcast with my friend Bo North. And we discuss Frank Herbert's Dune series chapter by chapter. Right now we are on Children of Dune. So everyone come on over. It's a great time. There are no slugs, but there are worms.
Yes. Giant sandworms who do have teeth, I believe.
Oh, yes, they do.
Yeah. Gina, where can people find you on these here internets?
I write about movies and television at thespool.net, and I am on Twitter under Porcelain72.
Do it today, people. Check it out. We had a new review on iTunes, so thank you very much. If you were Space Tory, and she recommended that we check out a movie that I can't remember. I will. It is also an animal attacks movie, though. I think it is the nesting. It's the cockroach one. Oh, no. It's Evil Ed. But what I need to know from Space Tory is, are you talking about the Swedish movie Evil Ed or Fright Night? Because Gina will want us to do Fright Night eventually.
Oh yes, I can speak at length about Fright Night.
Yes. Evil Ed, I'm less sure about. I know I've seen the video cover, but I don't think I've ever seen the film. So you need to be more specific. Let us know on any of our social handles. And that just about does it for this edition of Animal Attacks April. Next week, a whole new movie slithering at you. It is not Slither. It is a snake movie called Anaconda. It's a giant snake movie with where everyone is acting towards the back rafters. It's very sweaty and occasionally sexy. And of course, I'm only referring to the snake. That just about does it. The body count will continue for myself and for Gina and for Megan. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.